Welcome to the Snowball Esports Melbourne Esports Open podcast special. Today with me I've got three very special guests, packed panel to talk about the massive week it's been in esports and also the general split. So first with me I've got the lead colour content analyst of the OPL broadcast, Bryce, EGym, Paule.
Hey man, how you doing?
Thought he was talking about me for a second.
Well, he said lead, and I'm like, I'm the only colour.
I started going in for the big intro. I was like, yes, Andrew.
And obviously with me I've also got Jake Spawn Tiberi, who likes to also tell me he's the general manager of the largest esports organisation in Oceania at the moment.
I think that's statistically correct.
Is it?
We have the most players.
Well, it's 50 staff members you were telling me last night.
How many do you have?
About 50-ish.
Oh, we got close to that. Maybe not as many because you just added teams yesterday.
Yeah, that's what you got to do, Tim. You just got to keep
Just gotta
jumping
keep
the
adding
queue.
them,
Yeah.
Keep one-upping the competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have like
And
40 or so.
also got with us Tim Carbon Wendel, head of esports for Legacy. How you going?
Adelaide
Doing
Crows,
well.
mate, not Legacy. He's
doing
the
well.
head of esports for Adelaide.
It's the same thing. No, I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
So thanks to Zen Gaming Lounge for having us. They've been very hospitable, letting us have a room very early in the morning on a Saturday, because Jake and Spawn have to do their rehearsals all weekend. So the first thing we're going to talk about is just the event itself, Melbourne Esports Open. Just how good it is to have such a large event in Rod Laver Arena, have Margaret Court all open available. Especially for the two Melbourne boys here. Obviously be pretty special for both of you.
Yeah, well, I've actually played at Margaret Court before, a couple of years ago, and it was an awesome experience. So, actually, you were with me, Bryce, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so it was an awesome experience, and I hope it is again. Fingers crossed that the games are great and that the production is awesome and that everyone has a really good time, because that's what we're here for ultimately.
And it's kind of iconic, right? The way most people will get to Margaret Court or Rod Laver is they will get off the train at Richmond and they'll do the walk, and they'll walk past the MCG on their right, Amy Park on their left, and they'll start heading past like all the tennis stadiums as well. And it really is like that walk of like sporting history within Victoria. And I think
it's pretty special.
Yeah, that's a really cool experience for a lot of people. And then when you get to say that, now esports is doing this, and you get the iconic shots up the Yarra and things like that. I think that this is one of those events that could really take that, allow esports to take that next step in Australia.
When do we get a photo at the end of the, like the tennis Walk of Fame?
Yeah.
When do we get a big blow up of like Shan?
I mean, I'd throw one up there at the moment. He's had it all right here.
Yeah, won 2 awards obviously, so he's had a fairly good year. So do you think this also helps the sporting capital of the world? Can we now add Melbourne Esports Open to the list of great sporting events Melbourne have?
Like, is that a thing? Is Melbourne called the sporting capital of the world?
Yeah,
it is.
absolutely.
Melbourne, by the way.
Certainly is. Sit down, Bryce. But yeah, I think that when you have a look at it, I think they came out and publicly said it that they want Melbourne to be up there with the Shanghai, the Singapores of the world as far as esports goes. And I think that having an event like this, especially because it's more of a festival feel kind of event, like there are going to be some big main stages on the stages, but there's also going to be some cool free to play areas and things like that.
Yeah,
I think having
and stuff.
all round event like that really does help them push towards from grassroots to the top of the triangle.
Yeah, I think that's the coolest thing, that you can rock up and like you can play a CS tournament or like Rocket League, or you can play a Minecraft tournament. Like that's so cool. I'm not someone that has gone to a lot of big events that I haven't played at. I've literally never been to like a PAX.
Were you a Q Minecraft
What? I saw
player?
your PAX last year.
No, but like, no. Where like I've gone as a spectator, or like I've never been to a
Mr.
convention.
Invite only.
No, so like events like
This guy was literally at PAX last year on the Logitech booth, like, I'm playing with EGym.
No, but like that's my point, right?
You were a spectator only, mate. You've been knocked out by that stage. You're on the opposite. What are you talking about?
Playing normals with the fans
this is some
does
hard
not
playing.
count as professional player. You might as well be a spectator. You playing fucking ARAMs, like, it's part of my job.
No, but like I think like those events are cool. Like having like public events and pro all in like one big tournament. I like that.
Absolutely. I think open tournaments are sick, and hopefully people get involved. I mean, it can be daunting playing your first tournament, especially if you're not like very good, or like you don't think you're very good, regardless of what your actual skill is. But like, open tournaments is an experience, man. It's awesome. It's like competing in anything else. And anyone who listens to this who doesn't already play competitive LoL, I doubt there will be many. But give it a crack because you might find something that you love.
But we were talking about this last night over a couple of beverages. We were chatting about, like, one of the things that I think the FGC has really got right is that theory that anyone can play anyone first round. And that as long as you show up and, you pay the entry fee and you're willing to give it a crack, they will, like, respect you. They will play against you properly. They will shake your hand. And I think that is how, like, I mean, if you really wanted to get good, I could see that as being a pathway into, like, being able to grow as a player, like having access to top tier. Because I was also talking to Bryce about it afterwards, and, like, in League of Legends, there's kind of the, if you're not on my level, don't touch my keyboard, like, piss off to the other team
Don't be on my team.
Yeah. Whereas, like, in the FGC and other games, and, like, hopefully Melbourne Esports Open helps grow this, like, that core engagement just seems to be, like, super strong, super passionate, and I hope that this event really does bring that out.
I also, think in terms of, like, a league thing, going back to when our servers were on NA and we played on NA, every pro player currently in OS, I reckon, has that one time when they played back then against, like, an NA pro. Like, you laned against him and you were just like, oh my god. Like, just in solo queue, not even competitive. You haven't even played versus their team. Yeah. But you're just like, I'm laning versus Skara. I am going to die 30 times before 15 minutes. Yeah. And so, like, as someone not experienced with the fighting game community, like, the fact that you can go up and play left in round one or something, that's real cool.
My first ever Melee tournament. Am I allowed to talk about Melee on this podcast? Ray?
Yes, yeah, you can. Yeah, go ahead.
My first ever Melee tournament, I played against Hugs, who's an American professional player, top 20 in the world, who would come to Australia to take a lot of prize money. And I played him literally first round, and he taught me how to, like, stage strike, which is, like, how you choose what map you're going to play on, how to, like, do all, like, all the tournament rules and stuff like that. And it was my first ever experience playing tournament, and it was a big part of why I got so hooked and why I still play the game now. It's just, like, that's something that would never happen in League, you know what I mean? If someone asked me for advice, like, if, like, a bronze player or something asked me for advice, like, I'll give them, like, my 2 cents, but then I'd never want to talk to them again.
Wow, speaking volumes to yourself there.
But it's like, it's just so different because
there's
no like.
First of all, they, like, just cold add you, and then you accept them, and they're like, "Hey, man," and then it's a different.
Tim just sat down next to him, and he was like, "I'm playing your first round," and the guy was like, "Easy cash money." Like, it's not really all that much, right?
No, but that's like, there's no, like, buy-in, like for him, like, there's a reason for him to keep me interested in the scene, in the space. He wants me to keep coming back to tournaments because that's better for everyone. But, like, in LoL, it's like, it's just a name on a screen. You'll probably never interact with this person ever again in your life, and you just don't have that, like, connection. Like, it doesn't, like, I say this, like, of course I appreciate all my fans, and anyone who's ever asked me advice, like,
here's my 2 cents, now go away.
Yeah, no, but I do honestly try to help people, but at the same time, if that person was to log off League and never play again, I wouldn't notice. And I think that's like a fundamental difference.
But I think, like, that's where I hope that's where things like Melbourne Esports Open,
that's
and other open tournaments changes it.
To bring it back,
to bring it actually back to what we started talking about. I think, like, this is a real cool opportunity for everyone to get involved.
Yeah, no,
like, whether you're, the challenger kid that has been playing under an alias and changing account names and stuff like that, and, like, trying to dodge publicity, to, my little brother who was silver and, like, had played 3,000 games but just really loved League of Legends. Like, this is a good event for every single person. I really hope that it continues to build up and continues to grow.
I agree.
So just on that, you obviously mentioned Smash. Are there any esports you guys are interested in taking a look at this weekend?
Minecraft tournament. I think that's actually, I don't know what the format is, but I think that's so cool.
Were you a Minecraft queue player?
Minecraft? No, yes.
Absolutely.
A couple of years
here
ago.
We go.
So, like, for context, every League of Legends player
has
that gets high elo has a queue game because the queues are too long.
But yeah, like 3 years ago, queues were genuinely an hour, and Tim can attest to this. Like, if you were high enough elo, your queue, like, you queue up, and you had an hour to wait. And if you missed it, you were like, I've just ruined my life. But, so, like, you had to have a queue game, and I just played Minecraft for, like, years. is popping.
So what is the structure of the Minecraft tournament?
I have absolutely
Commentating it?
no clue at all.
I'm pretty sure we're allowed to commentate it if you want. Let's go give it a
but
crack.
when I saw it, I was just like, I've never heard of a Minecraft. I don't know if it's like Hunger Games or if it's like build the coolest
Minecraft Battle
stuff.
Royale, probably.
Yeah, it probably is. Battle Royale is the new craze, so
the new
everyone's
hotness.
jumping on. But
Yeah.
I think that's fun.
I'll probably check it all out.
Yeah.
I obviously have a vested interest in pretty much every game. We have a team competing in CS:GO. I got a player competing in Melee on Sunday as well. So I'll definitely watch those. And obviously the LoL Grand Final I'm interested in. The Overwatch Grand Final I'm interested in.
No,
also.
we're not. Don't lie, Tim. Not anymore. We're
I've still got
interested.
I got a horse in that race, man. I got to support Leo. I get to live vicariously. If he wins, I win. I get to live vicariously through him.
I'm kind of similar to Tim. I think we got we don't have League of Legends. We got Counter Strike. We
certainly do.
Overwatch. We've got
we as in so my bad.
as in order. Counter Strike, Overwatch, Street Fighter, Smash, Dragon Ball Fighter. So there's just everything there.
You gonna sign up for Dragon Ball?
I actually would sign up.
Yeah, do it.
But then so it's funny, right? Because ROF and Tosh are kind of like polar opposites of each other. ROF is like, do not come anywhere near Street Fighter. I know you've been playing, but just don't embarrass it. We've already got 2 players in this game. We don't need another one.
Yeah.
Whereas Tosh is like, yeah, come play.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll draw each other first round. We'll be fine.
Yeah, Street Fighter players so elitist.
Imagine drawing your own player first round and just getting smacked.
That'd be funny. Imagine if they lost.
Poor ROF. Imagine if I dumpstered him.
Imagine if he just lost. He just had the worst day of his
It's
life.
like the best player in the world
Worked on by Spawn.
doesn't need to
Spawn
worry
cabbie.
about the second. It's just Jake just button mashing, just the worst player in the tournament, just cheeses a win.
I would be the worst as well. Obviously, League of Legends will be cool. But I'm really excited about Extremes Land as well. Because I think that round of 4 format with close teams is real cool for live events. I think that gives it something extra sizzle to the spice.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right, cool. So with that, I reckon we'll move on to the awards that are in front of the panelists here.
They're good awards, by the way.
Yeah, they're
I like the little statues. Did you? What's the story behind them? How'd you get them done?
So we went through Vez Design, so shout out to Vez. We, I think, gave him pretty short notice of maybe less than 2 weeks, which pitched the idea. It's we would love some trophies to give to the players.
So when you say we gave them short notice, let's be a little bit more specific. Who from Snowball is that unorganised that they...
Name and shame.
Definitely me.
Okay, that's good.
Definitely me, and I palmed off the problem to Swifty, my producer, so sorry about that. So yeah, we've got 3 awards to give out today. It's Most Improved Player, Rookie of the Split, and Most Valuable Player. So these awards were done by 6 resident snowballers, and it was done in a similar format to the Brownlow. It was just over the split. It was just a 3-2-1, so it wasn't round by round. It was just based on their opinion. They had 3 votes with a 3-2-1 system.
Was it every team every week? Or
No,
was it
no,
every
no,
game
no.
every week?
No, so it was literally just end of season. Just pick it.
Every
Oh,
team
okay,
gets
yeah.
every
Yeah.
team. You could pick 3 players from every team for who you thought.
Yeah. So, so the first one, we've got Rookie of the Split, and I guess no surprises on this one. This one went to BioPanther, who has done very well coming from the OCS and transitioning to top lane for the Dials, which I think there's a lot of expectations on that, with obviously how good Chippies was and being the MVP last split from the OPL.
I'm the first to admit that I saw that change at the start of the split, and I'm just what? What are you doing? Chippies has been so good for them for years, especially domestically.
Yeah.
And BioPanther was a strict downgrade individually at that time. Over the course of the split, he's done incredibly well. Talking to Sharp and talking to Bio, he's just a super wholesome kid with a super good mentality. And obviously their sights were on international success. So they're Chippy's hard carry player, very good, but BioPanther's more diverse. So they had their reasons, but I think he's been super successful.
I thought I definitely saw it as a long-term move by them,
Yeah.
by Direwolves at the time. I was like, okay, Chippy's obviously has his issues and hasn't performed to the standard they would like at international tournaments, despite being, obviously the best top laner in OS. But yeah, he's paid off in the short term also. You know what I mean? I saw it sort of as a development play, and the team would be weaker in the short run, and maybe they would win this split, and then next year they would really come good with Bio or whatever. But no, that they've I think he's impressed everybody. I think he's had a really good year. Yeah, congratulations, I suppose. I mean, this is an award, so...
I think the other thing that it's done, which is super interesting, right, is it's potentially allowed other teams to trailblaze in this area.
Yes.
Like where you had someone like maybe Harry that maybe had like a couple of more years on an academy roster, like historically, maybe someone like a Tectonic or an Avant Gaming or something will come out and roll the dice on a young kid. And I think that that's super cool. If you've done that for a region, like if you were the first and the trailblazer and you've... Because let's, like, as much as the GM of Order, it burns me inside to say it, Direwolves have trailblazed for 2 years now, haven't lost a domestic game in a year. They're doing some things very, very well, right? So I think that the fact that they've brought in a young kid into a good ecosystem, empowered their coaches to raise him up, and whatever else you want to say is going on behind the scenes, obviously something is working. And if other teams can replicate that and bring young kids in, I think that that's when Oceania will start taking the next steps. Because we've recycled players, maybe a little bit for my liking. There's a couple of players that come back into the ecosystem, and I'm like, like there are people knocking on the door, and they're going with known quantities only. So I think that BioPanther, like, not only has he had a stellar year, he has really, in my opinion, trailblazed kind of how people will now approach picking up new talent.
I think it's also super interesting that it was the top team that picked up an OCS player. You see new players going up into like the 7th, 8th place teams, and then they're already struggling with their own issues, and then the player comes on stage. Even if they perform like fine individually, then they lose games and like don't have a real good showing. But by going like OCS to the best team, obviously there's a lot of expectations, but then even performing up to par, I think is something we haven't really seen before. Like when talk about like recycling players,
I disagree.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you're looking at it. I mean, I think the thing that you guys are getting caught up on is that this player played OCS during Split 1 and then played OPL Split 2. But I mean, like Babip came from OCS to OPL this year, and he is the second best jungler in the league by all accounts.
I think he was groomed for a couple of years, though. I don't think that's a fair comparison, because you guys had him in the house. Yeah. You guys were integrating him. So, like, don't get me wrong, the two teams I've always
wasn't my only example.
Okay.
Leo was one. Cupcake came from OCS when he joined us last year.
That's true.
Gun Crab has had very good performances moving from OCS to OPL this year. What are the top teams? Because I swear I had others. BioPanther, Babip.
Ryan sat behind the Chiefs for a long time before joining Sing Gaming.
Yeah, but he was already played OPL for a while. I'm trying to think of like OCS players that joined this year, because I swear there are actually a lot. Because I've had this conversation a number of times, but I had it specifically with Lucio like 2 days ago about how this year I think has been a changing of the guard in a big way. Last year we saw Direwolves win OPL, and that was sort of a change in terms of the teams, but in the players, really not. It was the same sort of guys. It was like Fantix and King and Chippies and
Destiny.
Shern was new at the time. Shern was new last year, but it was a lot of the same names. Because second, it was Chiefs and it was Legacy. You know what I mean? It was all the same guys. Carbon, EGym. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Last year, but this year is really a changing of the guard. I think all the players at the top, a lot of them are very new. There are guys coming from OCS putting up big performances, and so I think certainly Bio coming from OCS, going to the main roster and maintaining first place is a huge achievement, and I definitely think it will open people's eyes up to the OCS. But I also think it's a bit of a disservice to the other guys who came from OCS this year, because I think there's a number of them, and I think a lot of them have put up really good performances.
Yeah, see, my point's kind of the opposite of what you're saying. It's like, I agree they did it, but I think they did it with a lot of hype behind them. I remember watching Blinky and Cupcake Lane together, thinking these guys are genuinely good.
I didn't even know who Cupcake was when he joined my team.
Yeah.
That's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Lucio was like, it's Cupcake or it's Isla. And I was like, I don't know whoever you think, Lucio, I don't know who those two are.
Yeah. But, like, okay, so that XR5 roster, whether you knew them or not, were 5 very good players that nearly promoted up themselves.
Yeah.
And then you have a look at someone like Babip that sat behind Legacy Genesis, and was groomed specifically for the role. BioPanther, in my opinion, was actually a no-name. He arguably wasn't even the best top laner running around in the OCS at the time.
Yeah, potentially.
And then, was able to take that leap. And like my point is more like not bringing in the next superstar. It's gambling on the next rookie as opposed to like I love when rookies turn into superstars.
Yeah,
but there needs to be some servicemen in the OPL.
Yeah,
and I think that some of the young kids need to be given like opportunity in that area.
We're also talking
just quickly. If I cut you off because I just got shown. Producer just showed me a number of names that I had not thought about. But Pap Rise is another one. Yep. Decoy was another one, although he did play like 2 weeks on Regicide.
Yeah. That would be rough going to that team for Decoy.
Being
I think.
Decoy, yeah. No, they didn't speak English.
They didn't communicate
I spoke to him
English
about it. They
like,
spoke Chinese in team comms, and he was just like,
"Yep,
yeah." So and he's Kiwi, so. I don't know why that matters.
As opposed to Australia.
You were saying before the broadcast, just the Kiwis just seem to sneak into the OPL. They just
No, not just the OPL. I mean, they're certainly pretty good Kiwi representation in the OPL, but my team specifically, like last year I had Lawrence and Cupcake who are Kiwi. This year I have Decoy. My CSGO team has 3 Kiwis in it.
That's like expensive.
Yeah, no, just literally, everywhere I look, I have Kiwis on my team. Like, I've got nothing against Kiwis, don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit more expensive to fly.
They just sneak into the P&L before you know.
Yeah. Keep blowing out my bottom line.
All right, so we'll move on to the next award. So the next one we'll talk about is the most improved player.
I'd like to thank the Academy. It's not me, Andy.
It's not you.
All right.
Is this one named after me too?
We can call it the Carbon Award.
Yes, would you? Because you know what I noticed? They call the Radium Medal, but mine has to be the Tim Carbon Wendel Award. People don't know who I am if you just say Carbon. No, and it fucking really upsets me.
Yours is like because it's actually the Radium Medal, whereas yours is Carbon's award for most improved. Like whenever I write it, so it's like you.
Yeah, but I don't give it either, though.
I want you.
I'm not giving anyone the award. It's just like named after me, so it just should be the fucking Carbon Medal.
Okay, so the winner for this one was Wray. No, sorry. Well, you can see I'm all over it.
It's like what's that guy's name? Steve Harvey, where he gives the
next top model.
Miss America, and he's like, wait, it's not you.
Sorry, Seb. Wray was second.
Alright, you should just do another take of that one, mate. And post production will look after you.
No, I'm leaving it.
You're leaving it. Okay, so Seb wins the most improved award. Wray was second. I believe it was who was the tie? Third, Decoy and
Kun.
Decoy and Kun were tied for third. So,
Pike Lee.
Talking about recycled players, there's obviously a few in that list. They've obviously bounced back.
Yeah. Look, Seb, I think he has turned sort of a new leaf this year. I think last year he was definitely forgettable, like a low impact jungler. You played against him and you didn't really see or feel his impact on the map. But this year, I think, especially in Split 2, I think on things like the Nocturne,
Kindred.
Yeah, and the Kindred especially. Those two, I think, were power picks for him. And I think he was a big part of the Bombers managing to sneak their way into the gauntlet. He picked up a lot of single games for them against good teams.
Yep.
So I think, I think he definitely, especially in Split 2, has looked a lot better.
And I think it's real, like people underrate this, but it is very hard to be a good jungler on a bad, okay to bad team.
Absolutely.
It is so easy to just look shocking in that role.
Yep.
And even in the current meta, it is so hard to single-handedly carry games.
Yeah.
And he had moments this split where he was on Kindred, like level 2 ganking mid lane, returning after level 4, killing the mid laner twice, going top lane, chasing them down, and just single-handedly winning games.
Yep.
And like everyone's like, sure, he's a pro player, but in the current meta, to be able to do that from the jungle position on a team that looked ordinary, they won 30% of their games at the end of the day. That is very, very impressive, and I think that for a player that I personally I bashed him heaps on broadcast. Like I think that he had some real solid performances, and you get to eat humble pie in the role, and like it's a good thing to do every now and again, and he certainly exceeded expectations.
Sorry. This just happened because we're both looking at Jay.
We're not looking at each other.
Real engaged. The eye contact is stellar on this podcast.
Well, I just want to say it's also like the turnaround of him last year coming into this year. Obviously, they have 2 imports, but it was like I believe he's the captain, but
he is.
Also for his team to have the confidence in that. You know what I mean? Like like when in that Kindred game, like you're talking about, where he absolutely popped off. Like that was like a Kindred. I think they had like Morgana 80 carry, Karma mid, so they had like a literally protected the jungle Kindred comp, stuff like that. So it's not just like a solid performance from him. It's like they recognize that he has that potential despite having bad performances in the past, and then like the team is turning a new leaf, like in confidence with him.
It's good to see them. It's good to see teams facilitating their teammates.
Yeah.
Especially when you're at the lower end of the ladder. I mean, these guys did end up in the gauntlet, but I think, like Jake said, they won 30% of their games. They ended up the season 3-7, and I don't think their first split was all that much better. But it's good to see teams who lose a lot still managing to trust each other enough to experiment with things. And I think if I'm Bombers moving forward, this is like that's one of the players where I'm leading more towards keeping.
Yeah,
you know,
because
moving into the off season,
I think it's an interesting discussion about. I forget who I was having it with a couple of weeks ago. About it's always the bottom teams that play selfishly. Like you never see the top team that's like, oh, they just picked 5 champs that they all want to play. It's like that everyone is picking for the team. Obviously, like as you get more and more up the ladder, like they're better and better teams, like more cohesive, yada yada. But it's very easy to fall into the trap when you're struggling in the season.
My team sucks. Pick me. Syndra.
Yeah.
Or like pick me whatever I want to play.
Yeah.
And then it looks like arse when you watch the game.
Even worse.
And as soon as like you fall slightly, and it's like you need to win all your lanes, and then as soon as you fall slightly behind, your game plan just doesn't exist because you've got 5 champs that are just
absolutely let's use the most obvious example right here. You guys picked 3 Braum games or 4 Braum games, won an OPL final. No one talks about it. You picked 4 Lulu games, got knocked out in the gauntlet. Everyone is like, why was he playing the champion 4 times? Like, people are just outcome biased. Like, it is actually like the result of it. So I think that when you lose a lot, then you start becoming more selfish. You're like, obviously this game plan isn't working. And, you know, we're even critical of their coaching staff. But the fact that their coaching staff like stuck behind the players and obviously enforced the style of game that they wanted to play, and Seb was a beneficiary of that and probably was a large part of building that as a captain, is a super cool thing in my eyes. And I think, you know, hats off to the dude. Yeah.
No, congratulations to Seb. I think who are the honourable mentions?
Honourable mentions, so there was Wray,
Kuden
and Decoy.
They gave it to Kuden in the OPL.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Kuden for me was one of those players that
I think Seb was better. I think.
Yeah, no,
anyway,
Seb's a good award winner for it. To just hit on the honourable mentions a little bit, like Kuden to me was one of those players that I thought would historically have huge variance. He would lose you games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Whereas I think that this year he was able to stay neutral to like very positive in like a lot of his performances. And I think that people look at superstar performances, but at the end of the day, if you're a pro player, some people just got to raise the bottom bar a little bit. And I think he did that real successfully this year.
Yeah.
Skill floor is just as important as the skill ceiling.
It's more important, arguably. Every pro player,
to a point.
Yeah, every young like player is like wants to make the highlight reel plays, but they want to hit a 10. Where if you just hit a 7 and instead of hitting a 5 every time, then like you'll win 20% more games. Yeah.
Agreed.
Heard it from Bryce. Every player wants to feature on the Snowball top 5 players every week. Speaking of that, we're now to
I managed it this year.
Yeah, with your Riven
Baron Steel, bro.
No, but weren't you like you were the extra?
Yeah, you were the bonus.
Yeah.
You're the bonus clip.
You didn't make the top 5. You were the
counts.
He was 0 on the top 5. That is how good Tim's
okay.
was.
Best play I ever made was after I retired.
That's not true. Your redemption lease in save of the game versus
that is true.
was
Actually, that was pretty sick.
godlike.
What about the flash consume like over red buff?
Actually, that was also pretty sick. No, but that wasn't flash consume. That was just literally flash smite on lease. I flash smote the red buff level 2 and a level 3 or something, and then I repelled to dodge the Syndra stun by mid beast, and then just like walked away. That was actually
gross.
I actually screamed with laughter.
So, moving on to the MVP now, there's obviously lots of great players in the OPL, a lot of superstars.
Mm-hmm.
But the final winner that was drawn was Claire. So,
thank goodness. Thank goodness.
I mean,
for the year that man has had.
Yeah, he has had a wild year.
I'm telling you, and Tim, if you did not have that person on your lineup, we would have beaten you every gauntlet run. Mimic got you guys a lead, but I don't think that it is talked about enough how well some individual players play when they have the lead. Some players give it back. Some players die in the side lane. But he was, every single time he got the advantage, was so rock solid with it. I can't remember him giving a game back.
Look, there was probably one here or there, but like we didn't finish first. Like we were literally 8th at one point during the last split. But no, like I think well deserving in terms of value to our team.
Yeah, most valuable player.
He is like relative to every other team, like by far and away. I think he is the most
I reckon
valuable.
He is probably in the OPL the only like franchise player. Like for Legacy, he's the.
I would argue Rays for Chiefs. They
Maybe
changed.
moving forwards.
Rays, no,
Just
but
on that
Chiefs used
also.
to be a mid-lane centric team.
Okay.
They're now an 80 carry team fighting team.
Yeah. Okay.
He
No, maybe,
literally changed the organisation.
Honourable mention to Rays as well. He did come second in our
Yeah.
MVP, and third was triple. So
Okay.
Schön perhaps
All
a
the
little
same
bit-
generation, by the way. They're all like
Yeah, no.
mid-tier, like haven't been playing for 5 years, but not brand new.
I touch on the changing of the guard, and this was mostly me and Lucio were just talking about junglers mostly because that's all we really talk about. This is it's the most important role in the game, by the way. Yeah, it was like all the sort of the older players were either getting like I've since retired. Sybil got dropped by Tectonic. Spooks didn't have the best year. Yeah, EGym's out. A lot of that sort of generation players are not. They're not at the top anymore, and you're seeing a lot more of the triples, the Wrays, the Claires. I mean, Claire is, to be honest, the oldest player I think in the OPL in terms of playing time. But like he's
just
that age
started when he
group.
was, yeah.
He's that age group, and that's sort of that age group of players who are really starting to step
the
up now.
FBIs, the Kings,
Who are really just establishing themselves as by far and away like the best players. And I think that's natural, and I think that's fantastic. I think it's super entertaining.
Yeah.
To see like new names
When
doing
you go
things
through
you've
that
never
list,
seen them.
God, they play a good brand of League of Legends as well.
Ah,
They play exciting
if
League
you
of
put those
Legends.
guys on it, it's a
Yeah.
shame none of those guys are all on a team together.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
It was
That'd be-
Hawks in gaming,
Yeah.
and it was really fun to watch them
Yeah.
run down mid and fight every game.
Yeah, like there's some crazy guys out there who, if they were all in one team, oof.
Yeah. I think it's also, like, as you go down the list, I think, like, obviously it's MVP vote, but they're all very clutch players. Like, Claire has had, like, disastrous... He's had... Like, he dies tier on rise more often than not.
Yeah.
TP to a creep. No, but then Legacy is losing the game at 30 minutes and he 1v5s a team fight. Ray's, I think of, like, moments where he's literally, like, 1v5 flashing forward on Zaya. Has the most pentakills in the league.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah.
on that champion for a reason.
Frozen
like,
Mallet, Varus just marching forward in team fights while Raid Edge's Real's trying to duck, dip, and dive.
Yeah, trying to dodge auto attacks.
It's also, like, speaking on that, it's so fun watching, like, good AD carries with lethal tempo.
Oh,
it's
yes.
just, like, it's actually nutty watching, like, I don't know, just a Varus, a champion that should not just be able to dodge everything, just like Weave Auto is. Yeah.
Legolas, like,
no,
fucking,
literally. Yeah.
I remember back in the day when King was on my team, and in scrims sometimes he would, like, after we won the game, before we were hitting the Nexus, the old Cogmore with, like, the no attack speed cap where it was just, like, retarded, he would just he would try and aim move at the max, like the
the
max,
creeps hitting the Nexus and stuff.
at, like, the max speed, and, like, it was insanely hard, and he wouldn't, like, it was, I don't think it was possible to actually, but, like, he would hit like a little 5-second window where he was doing it, and it was like,
Oh my god!
poetry, and,
What?
like, I was just watching this, just like I could not understand what I was seeing. Like, it was just wiling out. And, like, yeah, seeing a good AD carry, like, do stuff like that is just, like, nutty.
Because
it's sick.
To get back to, like, the award as well, like, kind of
circle back.
is, like, I think people underestimate how deep the mid lane talent pool is in Oceania.
You know what? Sorry, I'm going to cut you off because I have always said the same thing up until this split, and I reckon there's like I think there's like a drop now. Like, I think the top ones are sort of like pushing each other further up
and leaving everyone behind.
leaving everyone else behind, and the others are all good still. They're all still good, but I feel like there's that top echelon of mids at the moment who are sort of just like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't see what I'm doing with my hand, but it's moving slowly and slowly closer to the ceiling.
So I agree with that sentiment. I actually always thought there were kind of like 3 great ones and then some good ones. What I'm trying to say is like it's real hard to have a bad mid laner. And on their day, people like
that.
Shock will beat people like Triple.
Yep.
Whereas there are some 80 carries where I'm like, if you team fight versus Rays, this isn't a 6-4 matchup.
Yeah.
This is a 10-0 matchup.
Your best day is not enough.
Your best day is not enough to
Yeah.
go toe-to-toe with Rays.
Yeah.
So I think that the fact that we have an MVP that has to play, in my opinion, the toughest role, and there's a huge variance in junglers in the OPL,
Yeah.
and only had a very good end to the split, but he did not have the best start to the split.
Yeah.
And he looked very good when he played with Sybil, who was obviously let go for only. This guy has been able to be like and it is the most, if you fall down in mid lane, your map is fucked.
Yeah, you're cool.
You do not win the game after that. And he has been able to, it's consistently, like, Legacy got 2 third places off the back end of, him and Mimic, the solo laners.
The nuttiest thing for me is just him in just clutch moments.
Yeah.
You never see him fumble. You never see him fumble the clutch. He is, it's the 1v4 to hold the Nexus. It's the 2-man Baron hold. Mimic and Claire versus like a Baron, like 5-man Baron team. It's like every time the scenario appears, he stands up and he delivers. That's the other thing. Like I don't know how he does it, but just somehow
I don't think he does either.
No, he doesn't, because I've talked to him about but
know,
that's what makes it so
did the
good. Is
right
he doesn't
thing.
think about it. He just plays. He's just
Yeah.
like, in the moment, I'm just playing. Like, they're just running at me, and I'm just flinging my spells in the right order as fast as I can.
There are some people that inspire people through like words and stuff like that. You'd put probably Juves in that category, maybe even yourself. And then there's some people that just inspire by being like sick players. And I've always been one of those people that if people around me are
sick
doing cool
players.
stuff, like I want to be a part of it, right?
Yeah.
So like I don't do it myself, but like I'm more of a vocal leader.
Yeah.
But I love leaders that lead through action.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
Claire is definitely a captain that leads through action.
It's really easy to get behind a guy who's down to just 1v4 for you. It's like you make a mistake, and it's like, don't worry, I gotcha. Don't worry, I gotcha. And that's got to be really liberating as a player to feel that way. Like, I can afford to make a mistake, so I'm going to take this risk, or I'm going to go for this opportunity that I might not. If my mid laner was not this good, I might not do it. But like, I'm going to go for this Baron steal instead of the team fight afterwards. Sometimes like they're doing Baron, and it's like, okay, we can either team fight this 3v4 after they finish it, or like I can go for the steal, and either I get it and die, and it's 2v4, you have to leave, or I miss it and we pretty much lose. But like when you have a player like that who is down to do that 2v4, you can go for it all. You can go for all the chips and just say, look, I am going to steal this, and then whether you do or you don't, like. I'm thinking
We're going to
like,
win the fight anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, it must be really liberating.
Because at a certain point as a jungler, you're a flash engage and a smite button.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not probably integral to the team fight anyway. He's just sitting there with his ear just smacking people with sand soldiers.
And the thing is I really like, and I have the benefit of like listening to their games, but like, he's really good with his team fight comms. Like, he knows when he can carry.
You can tell
and that
as
to
well.
me is like he's like, as soon as he says, like, we win this team fight, like that's it. It's on. Everybody knows. Just flash forwards, and Brandon's going to do some shit. Like, it's really like you almost get chills listening to it, where he's like he'll just be like, we win this fight, and you just see fucking 4 people just flash forwards.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really sick to see. And then he's just like fucking pentakill or whatever. Like, it's crazy.
It's also like, you as a spectator, you don't get to see that stuff, but like from my experience, like Simon was that guy, Swiffer in my teams, like we could, like, it could be the worst idea in the world, but if Swiffer said something, DOS Swiper's just like, okay, like, I'm like, you know what I mean?
He's just got the trust, man.
He's just like
trust.
He's just like you know what I mean? Like, Ash Arrow's coming in, he's like and for some reason he tells DOS Sion to flash tank it, and like he will, you know what I mean, instantly.
And that
like,
hasn't changed.
There's so
and
much
some
trust.
players that doesn't change in. Like, some people just, I mean, Origin, obviously, team gets put together in a couple of weeks. Like, Simon was not the shot caller of that team, but he's like the idea guy. And if he has an idea, pro players listen to him. And Order obviously came together this year. And Simon, once again, he did shot call this year, a little bit more vocally, but once again, like, people listen to him. And I'm sure there's people around the league that, like, I'm sure no matter what team you had to put Carbon on when he was playing, like, people would listen to the early game calls that came out of it. Bryce would 1v5 invade versus anyone in the league and die, but, we're not really talking about that at the moment. I just felt like...
Compliment Simon, compliment him and shit on me.
But I think there are just certain players that, like, when they say something in game, like, it has more
seriously.
weight than other people.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Did he get a bonus?
That's I can't share that.
So circling back to this weekend after the awards, and talking about this weekend, a lot of you have had experience at live events and live finals.
Yep.
Take me through what it's like as a player, and also, I guess, for Jake as a caster. What happens during the week?
During the week?
During the week, and then on the day.
I think, at least in my experience, during the week was nothing special. It was always, I never got nervous until like the day of the game, and then it like really hit me. So it was just like, during the week, you're in your house, you're scrimming.
No, you're not.
No, you're
So
not.
Well,
you're not
live
scrimming.
events.
Well,
You don't scrim, and you have to be at the venue 4 days early.
Well,
And no one wants to scrim you. If you're first versus second, trust me, we aren't scrimming at the moment. Is your team scrimming?
Nope.
These
Yeah.
teams have played 0 scrims.
yeah. Oh.
No, they scrim the
No,
roller
they
teams.
scrim. Yeah, you scrim the poopy team,
Yeah.
so you get bad practice. But like, and then when you get there, yeah, like unless I don't know what the venue is like now, but like back when we played, like we didn't have green rooms with like playing computers and stuff like that. But
Yeah, we did. Well, we did at Brisbane, and we did at OPL Luna Park as well. So you're wrong on both. And the only ones we didn't was first was 2014. Those are the years then we didn't have warm up computers. But 2015 we had warm up computers. 2016 we had warm ups, and 2017 was studio. So we didn't have warm up computers, but it's in the studio.
yeah.
You had warm-up computers in 2014. It's called the Immunity lineup and the Chiefs lineup, and you just ran through them on the way to the finals. No, I mean, you beat them once in the finals, so that's...
No, we beat them twice.
You beat semi-finals.
We've been at PAX.
Yeah, but that was like a semi-final.
Well, it's still a final.
Yeah, all right, true.
You didn't say grand final. Should
I agree.
Specified. No. So what the week is actually like, I can't believe Bryce just said what he said, because it's so wrong, but also he experienced the exact thing that I experienced. Okay, so you fly up. Usually you fly in like 4 or 5 days before the event, because they want to do like media and stuff with you. So you're going through the motions. You're filming your pre-roll. You're filming your like they're taking photos of you at like whatever landmark is in that.
I hate the Chiefs.
Yeah, whatever landmark is in the city, they take you there. You got to stand outside in like 3 degrees with your jersey on. Everyone's staring at you.
Folding
you
your arms.
Yeah, everyone's got to take some.
Trying to look real tough in your esports photos.
Yeah, and like people are like, it's a really unsettling experience. It's probably better nowadays because like esports is a bit more mainstream, I guess, and like, but like when I was doing it, like. Yeah, it was just weird. Like, people assumed you were, like, from a sport or something. Like, you know what I mean? You were more important than you were. So everyone was, like, staring at you while you're doing it. And then in between that time, really, it's really hard to get scrims usually. I mean, I think nowadays, probably this year, because a promotion tournament is so close to the grand final, those teams are probably still scrimming. But back when me and Bryce did it, no one would scrim. Like, I would scrim, like, open ladder teams or, like, OCS team. Or, like, my OCS team, I would scrim as well. So really, like the 4 days before that, you're just like stomping OCS and then like playing as much solo queue as you can, and that just comes up until a day before you have to do rehearsals, and then the day of the competition.
And my experience being around teams, obviously not playing because I've never played, but being around the team is that they talk like every single conversation leads back to it somehow. And like you get caught in echo chamber mode versus like trying to keep yourself calm whilst trying to feel the hype and like trying to be in that like perfect equilibrium of like I am ready for this without having played the series before I get on the stage. But like every single time like I was around Sam, he's talking about, what his first 4 levels look like, what his pathing looks like, you're talking to like Annie Pathaway, like far out. And then like you're talking to other people and like they're like sitting there and you can tell that they're trying to let the game come naturally, like as they have done hundreds of games before.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, like when you get given a 8-day window before a grand final, like you are really battling that, keep talking about it internally versus like try and let it stand.
It's also like you want to normalize it as much as possible, but then you have a great mix, or at least in the teams I was on, of people who like when you're nervous, they just sit there like pre-game. They sit there with like their earphones in, listening to music, and then some people just get super nervous, chatty, and then swipers like watching boxing, like motivational videos, like pumping himself up. Like you just have like this entire mix. So the room is like so tense, but everyone is desperately trying to be as
they're
calm
trying
as
to do
possible.
their best to relax.
Yeah,
But
everyone,
like,
hey, like, how you doing? Like, yeah, I'm great. And their eyes are just like as wide as
popping
possible.
out of their head, like-
yeah. And then because I think like your nerves peak. Not even for me. Not even like first moment of the game. It's just like walking out on stage at like Brisbane through the corridors and the smoke, and like you're walking onto the stage and you hear the crowd. Because when I've always said this, when like you get onto the game, whether it was like a regular season, whether it's a grand final, like the first couple of moments in the game, yes, you're very nervous, but then once you like have the first trade in lane, it was always for me like if you won, you lost the trade, whatever. It's like you kind of forget everything.
Hooked into turret as Lulu, like no matter Flay.
Mate, I just got Flay hooked in the head and I was dead.
Yeah.
But no, like once something has happened, something League of Legends, and you feel the
switch over
game,
to
then
league
like
mode.
you're not conscious of anything outside of the monitor until like huge plays happen, and then you can't like hear the crowd. You hear the muffle, but you just feel.
You feel it.
Yeah,
the
you
crowd.
feel the
You
vibration.
can hear the crowd.
It's insane. Yeah,
You're wearing you have to wear 2 sets of headphones. Like you wear inner earbuds that play your actual audio, and then you wear like
white noise
the
headsets,
white
yeah.
noise
Helicopter
headsets.
headsets.
They're actually pink noise headsets.
Yeah, true.
And so it's like you really can't hear anything, but you can though. Like the crowd is just so loud.
You can never make anything out, but you can hear.
Yeah,
like,
you don't know what
noises,
they're saying, but
yeah.
you know something's going on out there. And usually it coincides with something happening in the game, so you
Yeah.
put it together pretty easily.
Big team fight.
The
Suddenly,
really
crowd
worrying
pops,
one,
like,
the really worrying ones is when the crowd is chanting or like cheering and nothing is happening on your screen, and you're like, "Shit, what are they doing?"
It's so much worse for you as a jungler. You're like, man, is he sitting in my red buff?
Yeah,
Oh my
everyone's
God.
like, "Oh," and you see nothing but like fog of war, and you're like, "Fuck." I'm basing, guys. I'm fucking basing. Okay, be careful.
I can't clear my raptors.
Yeah.
Retreat pig, retreat pig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you definitely can feel it.
And I guess, like, on the flip side, as a caster, and these guys, I mean, you guys have done finals, haven't you? We've pulled you both on the desk at some point to talk about it.
I don't think I've ever done a live final.
You haven't done a
I don't
live
think
final?
I don't think I've ever done a final because I've always either been in them or this. No, yeah, literally, this is the 1st year I've not been in the final.
My first ever cast was found out the night before that I was casting the grand final with Jake and Fish, and I was like, I thought I was under the impression I was
He's
on
like,
the analyst desk.
Hey,
Yeah,
Matt, how's the analyst desk going to work tomorrow? Why do you want to know that? You're casting.
I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But this will be my first live. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, the thing is like,
You're
you're
ridiculous,
sitting there and
Yeah.
you're trying to be, like,
final.
so respectful because, and I'll keep going back to this, is, like, during the regular season, in my opinion, broadcast carries. Like, during the regular season, you're watching it for the jokes, you're watching it for the deficio ass slaps and, like, maybe your favourite analysts and whatever, and you get some hype games. But
Yeah.
during the grand final, your job as a commentator is to just get the fuck out of the way of the game and let the
Yeah.
game, like, sing true.
Yeah.
And that is why when you have awesome grand finals, I don't even remember what I'm saying half the time.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I'm just
true.
sitting there, like, just trying to give, like, the 10 players on the stage, like,
You remember the moments. You don't remember the
yeah.
casting.
And that's why the casting that, like, is just real raw, like, the Mickey Whale is a huge dragon. Like, things like that, just a real raw emotional cast.
Yeah.
I think are the best casts that come out in, like, grand finals.
Yeah,
and
no, I agree.
I just, like, that's why Atlas was, in my opinion, the best caster in the world at that time. Because, like, he has so many moments where, like, he was just able to convey what the crowd was thinking. Like, he would just put the crowd's emotions
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
words
He
over the
is-
game.
He was just a member of the crowd with a microphone.
That's exactly, but
Yeah.
like genuinely, I believe that to be the case.
Yeah.
I mean, especially back in those days, he knew nothing about the game. I watch a game back and I'd be like, "What the fuck is this cunt saying?" Like, he'd be saying some shit, and I'd be like, "You could not be further from the truth." But
But it
in
sounds
the
real
finals,
good.
but in the finals, that fucking works perfectly for him because it's like it's exactly like that. Like he's a member of the crowd and he's genuinely excited because he's not. That's what it felt like. What it actually was like, I don't know. But like from my perspective, it was like he genuinely didn't know what was about to happen, so he actually was excited for what was gonna. And then like it would happen, and he'd just be going off tap, and it just he definitely made for some
Small
really
tangent.
memorable finals.
Small tangent. When I learned
out
how
to
to
Max.
play-by-play caster, I sent my VODs around to everyone, and the best piece of advice I got from Quickshot, and it was, you know too much about the game, so you're play-by-playing the fight, how you think the fight should go. Just shut up and look at the screen.
Yeah.
Was the piece of advice I got.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, the shockwave should come out any second, and
Yeah.
the player's not throwing the shockwave, so
Yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
nowhere with the play-by-play at the moment, and they're still holding it,
Yeah.
and they're dead, and they haven't flashed or used shockwave,
Yeah.
but I said shockwave 4 times, and he's just like, just call the fight. And I think
Yeah.
that was the best thing, that in those moments, you just have to call the fight. And I think, so you're sitting there, you're trying to prep as much as possible. You want some narrative. You want the downtime to be rich and meaningful, as opposed to Bryce and I talk about everything from what we had to breakfast to the fact that he doesn't get enough regular haircuts.
You
To
piece
his
of shit.
skin power
You're a real
rankings.
piece of
Skins
shit.
power rankings, we do all that. But in the grand final, you're sitting there, you're talking about the fact that since Shern came back from Korea, he hasn't lost an OPL final, that he's quite possibly the best player of all time in Oceania right now. You're talking about the fact that Triple, everyone hyped him up, and that he's been able to translate his career from the Avant Gamings of the world. And you've got all those little bits of tidbits, but at the end of the day, you're sitting there for the team fight that is about to happen, 35 minutes into the game, and you're just gripping the edge of the seat. And in the same way that Bryce said, getting on there in the first trade was impactful to him, as a colour caster, because I've only ever colour casted a live event until Rift Rivals, you're sitting there waiting for the play-by-play caster to intro you. And the play-by-play caster always scripts their intro. And I know every colour caster has done this around the world, and they're the play-by-play caster's how do you want me to pronounce your name? How are we going to do it? We're doing fist pumps, we're doing hugs, are we talking to the crowd first of all? And as a colour caster, you're shut up, man, I'm the expert, I'm here to talk about the game. And then it happens, and you're shit, what am I going to do? And
Hello.
Hello, or you do the wave
me.
or the salute or whatever.
EGym. How's it going?
And I don't know, as soon as you get that first line out and Champions League comes up on your screen, because it's real quick in live events, you're fine. But that first moment where the camera comes to you, you get fishbowl syndrome. You realise that everyone's kind of talking to their mates, casters get intro, people realise games are about to start, and
It's silent.
the 10,000 eyes or whatever in the venue just go, vroom, and you're just shit, I'm a fraud, I know nothing.
I've been exposed.
Yeah, then it's good fun. And just in the same way that when plays happen, the best feeling is getting the laugh out of the crowd. Because everyone can get the cheer during the team fight, that's easy. But the downtime, the chuckle that turns into the murmur that turns into the hearty laugh, you get that as a caster, and you're yeah, today's a good day. We're feeling it now, boys. Let's go.
All right, so continuing on the theme of this weekend, are there any key matchups you're looking forward to this weekend? And what's your prediction on the result?
I think key ones for me are I don't know, man. It's really
There's so many.
I would say really the whole bottom half of the map, the top half.
Anyone but Swiper Biopan.
Yeah,
Real
because they
impactful.
both. I mean, really, they have the same sort of role.
Yeah.
They're both on tank duty. They both just sort of farm it up until they can TP in and influence a team fight. And so I don't see them being super impactful. I mean, obviously they will have an impact, but I feel like the game will be mostly decided by the bottom four.
They're not impactful until they are. Both of
Yeah,
those players.
yeah, yeah.
Biopanther's not impactful until he's a
Until
7-0
he's
Mundo.
4-0.
Yeah, until he just Mundo cleans a team fight,
Yeah,
or it's the
yeah.
opposite. Swiper lands at a rumble ult,
yeah.
and Quinn gets 7 kills,
Yeah.
and you're oh,
There he is.
Okay, whoops.
So I think definitely, but that's a bit of a cop out saying 8 out of the 10 players today are important.
Yeah.
So I'll break it down. For me, obviously Leo versus Babip versus Shern Fire is a huge one. Babip's never played on stage on a big final before. He played Rift Rivals, which hopefully gave him a little bit of experience.
Yeah.
But this is something different again. So that for me the big one, and then the other one is I think Ray's versus King.
Yeah.
I think Quinn has a potential. Quinn being Ray's, Quinn has a potential to carry games when we've been speaking about it today, and so does King, but in a different way. King is very good at losing.
He's
King,
the best negative 80
Yes.
carry in the league.
He's
By
the
far.
guy who rolls the 8 every time. We're talking about rolling 7s and 10s, or rolling 5s and 10s, and King rolls he rolls an 8 or a 9 every game.
Yeah.
Which is why we trash him for his mistakes internationally so much, because when
He doesn't make them.
you
Yeah.
watch OPL and you're
Yeah.
he does not do this.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
dodges every skill shot on Ezreal. He's the kind of person, I say this all the time, you never know where the King support is in his lane.
Yeah.
His playstyle does not change.
Yeah.
I watch him God mode on, and sometimes I have to check where his support is, and I can see the mini map.
Yeah.
Let alone how other people like are 2v1ing versus this guy, because you never know whether Cupcake's hitting the blast plant and popping back over the wall, or whether he's base bought Moby boots and ran top lane.
He's one of the few AD carries where that won't get dove 2v1.
Yep.
Like you'll be like we'll be casting or like just watching the map or whatever, I'm reviewing a VOD, and I'll be like, he should die here. Why isn't he dying here? And it's because he just staunches. Honestly, he just staunches the enemy. He's just like, you couldn't dive me even if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Come try me, bitch. And then they don't. And then they don't.
And such a growth of a play, because just before you start, Bryce, King, when he was on Direwolves, was the dash over the wall, Graves, like flashy.
The original,
He was FBI
when he was new.
FBI was FBI.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true.
Whereas now, he is just like Mr. Consistent.
He's Radiant, man.
Yeah.
He's gone from FBI to Radiant.
That is a good comparison.
Yeah, playing against him as well, like, let's say I'm Thresh. He is the only AD carry that hits S a pixel out of hook range. So he dances, he knows like the range is, and that's how he staunches like 1v2, and like he'll just hit S.
He used
like,
to
he's not
both of
scared
these
and
AD
won't back
carries.
away. He'll just stop just out of range, and you're just like, fuck you. What? He's still in XP range, and you're just like, but if I walk up, I'm going to cop a Q to the head.
Yeah.
And it's,
Both of these guys, actually, we talk about AD carry being the mechanical role, and it's super like cliche, but we've got two smart AD carries. That doesn't mean their mechanics are bad,
because they're fucking good.
because they're very, very good. But they, most of the time, have outthought you in a team fight, or like their positioning is just better, and therefore you can't get to them, and that's how they do it.
He used to call enemy cooldowns when he was on my team, like Morgana binds and shit.
Yeah,
like
Morgana bind 5. Yeah.
He'd be like, fucking enemy, like their Morgana bind is down, and it's down for 5 more seconds. Like go.
Yeah.
And like,
it's not like TF ulti nocturnal. It's like
no,
Morgana
it's like
bind.
literally like like he has no
The
shield. Like he has no
irrelevant
shield.
ones
13
in
seconds.
quote, yeah.
He'd be saying shit like that.
He was the most jarring player for me at
Like he's
Origin. I had this image in my head
Of
about
what he was
what
like?
King was going to be.
Yeah.
And then he played for me in Origin, and he
Yeah.
was like pretty much the opposite.
Yeah.
And him and Jake working together, like this is how I knew that Jake and like also King were like very good in their role. Was because those two guys came together and they talked about the game in like a very similar language, even though they'd never played. Like they had never duo queued or anything.
Yeah.
And they were able to mesh in 3 days. The big one for me is Triple versus Ryoma. Every single game I've ever watched Triple play Ryoma in, whether it's Sin versus Vanguard or now, Chiefs versus Direwolves, is whoever comes out on top of that mid lane matchup, and there have been some dice throws in those ones.
Yeah.
Like, they create their own meta.
Okay.
Like, Vladimir came out of nowhere, like, when these guys were playing it, just because, like, everyone was playing Orianna, then all of a sudden Triple's like, stuff this, like, you want to scale? Like, let's go. Best scaling mid laner in the game. Like, throw things on the table. And they just go around in circles. Like, they're just insane. And I remember talking to, I think it was Triple, and he was like, I thought we had lost the game versus the Chiefs when Ryoma flashed on top of me and killed me, because I had never been behind Ryoma in a game and then being able to come back and win it because, like, in the past,
he always closes me out.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
So they love playing each other.
Yeah.
When they talk about it, like, that's the new Swiffer Fantics rivalry right there.
Okay.
Like, those two guys
Yeah.
love playing against each other. And they're also, like, the thing that I respect so much about them is they're not thinking about, okay, if I just play normally, I won't lose this game for the team. They're both thinking, how am I going to put this dude in the bin today and carry this, like,
But you know
best
what?
of 5 grand final for my
It's the
team?
most fun way to think.
I reckon they will both play with a ton of respect on Sunday, and I don't expect anything from them, especially game 1. Maybe game 2 they loosen up.
Yeah.
Maybe after game 1 they loosen up. But I
reckon
reckon
we get a
game
Tommy
1,
Zed.
I reckon they're very passive.
Oh,
Game 1, and they're just feeling each other out because
know-
you don't want to be the mid laner that gets blown out in the first game.
Yeah. First game, I agree. I think as the set goes on, I love when people, like, obviously, you get an insight into scrim culture being a general manager, but as a caster, the most exciting thing is when a person has had a character or a champion banned against them that they've never played on stage.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden, first round, everyone is like just banning Zed, like, or third taking their mid lane, and everyone in the league is banning Zed.
Yeah.
There is a reason people are banning Zed, people, and it is not solo
It's not
queue.
because he's bad at it.
Like, so it's shit like that when I see it. Like in Gauntlet, I'm just like, oh, if it happens in finals, this is going to be sick.
No, he'll bring it out one game. Either they'll be behind and he'll whip it out, or they'll be ahead and they'll try and close it out with it.
Yeah,
I think
'cause
definitely game 3 or 4 he'll play it.
I think I think the whole series comes down to like Chiefs being able to force Direwolves to play what Chiefs want to play if they win. I feel like it's kind of consistency versus volatility, and especially exacerbated in like the mid lane matchup in like Ryoma versus Triple. I slightly disagree, and that I can see Triple just being like, I'm going to pick Azir and like scale like what he did versus like last 2 games versus Order Week 10, and Ryoma is more so than Triple has
But
to
he
be like,
still won
I will
those
pick
games.
Zed and I will shit on you.
He said he was going to scale, and then killed Simon 3 times
Yeah, and
before
then
level
like,
9.
yeah. Churn was like level 3, like didn't even have to blow Flash to like get the first gank or stuff like that. Yeah, but it, like overall in terms of the map, it's like in my head, like Direwolves are the more consistent team, and Chiefs are gonna be like fighting to like make their windows hit.
The only thing they don't want to do is give Chiefs belief. Like, I think that Chiefs are one of those weird, dangerous teams where like you can talk about it as much as you want, but like Direwolves subscribe to the Bible of Shern, like we always say that. But the Chiefs drink their own Kool-Aid. Like, they real do.
It's a good
like,
way to put it.
Yeah.
The Rock in the top, like
King of the North.
King of the North, like all the
Jerk
time,
himself
like
off.
team fighting bullshit mantra, number one,
yeah.
And like they're not trying to play the game optimally. Like Daruk came
Yeah.
in and was like, "This is
That's
the
what I
correct way to
mean,
play
yeah.
the game," and they were like,
Fuck
"Fuck
you."
you, Like, give me Ornn, give me Clan, let's go, boys, running it down mid lane." Like I respect that a lot. I have a similar theory about the game: is like just play the game how you want to play it. And I think that if the Direwolves give the Chiefs like 5 team fighting games, the Chiefs will beat them.
Yeah.
That is the most dangerous thing you can do against that team.
I think Direwolves just match up really well against the Chiefs. I think it's going to be very hard for the Chiefs to win.
Yeah, I agree.
Like they have that really strong, like their laners have that really strong like negative style. Like you can't.
You can
It's like
win,
you can't
but you
beat them
shit
in
on me.
lane.
They're the only
Like
team.
you can get an advantage.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to beat them in
It's not
lane. Even if you
significant
have the
enough,
matchup. Even if you have the matchup, you're not going to beat them in lane. You're going to go up like 10, 15, 20 CS maybe.
Doesn't
Who
matter.
are you picking to win? What's the result?
Oh, Direwolves 3-1. Direwolves 3-1. I'm pretty confident about that because it's just I look at their bot lane and it's like Rays can carry any game, but King can also carry any game, and King's not going to lose lane. Whereas Rays has a potential to lose lane.
Yeah.
And then I look at like mid lane as well, and it's like Ryoma has a potential to carry any game, but then also Triple doesn't lose lane, and Triple can also carry games. And then I look at like top lane, and it's like sort of like a tank v tank, so it's like probably not a lot of variance in that lane. So it's like across the board, Chiefs have the potential to carry, but also the potential to like lose lane, whereas Direwolves have the potential to carry, and I would be very surprised if they lost any lane majorly. And so it comes down to jungle, Shern versus Babip, and I think Leo's had a really good year, but I don't know if he's going to be able to make the difference, you know? Like, I think he can keep up with Shern, no doubt, but whether he can, like, it's not enough to keep up, he's going to have to beat him.
Yeah.
He's going to make up for that difference in the lanes. He needs to be the one who's going to break bottom lane. He needs to be the one who's going to break mid lane, because I don't think his lane's going to do it on their own.
Shern has the benefit of getting second to every play.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons Shern's look so good. Like, just from an outsider looking in, like, this is colorcaster Jake speaking as opposed to, like, the salty general manager.
Yeah.
But
Take your order
Shern
being
can get
off, mate.
second to a lot of ganks. Shern can get second to a lot of team fights. He also does create his fair share, but I'm talking about in this series, I think Babip is going to have to beat him to plays and make immediate impact.
Yeah.
And then Shern not have a choice, because I think if this game gets caught in a way where Shern just gets to put out his ward, deny his jungle vision, so like if Shern gets to play in fog of war with information, he'll just counter gank Babip all day long, because I don't think the laners of the Chiefs are good enough to create that 1v1, 2v2 solo kill moment that people, like even Legacy's bottom lane, like people probably won't remember this because once again we're all outcome focused, but Raid was killing Rays 1v1 in a lot of the matchups.
Yeah.
If Chiefs get put in a similar situation against Direwolves, the game's done. In fact, this is the first grand final since Chiefs Legacy Brisbane where I'm calling it 3-0. Like I don't think Chiefs get a game.
Yeah.
Like that's how much I think Direwolves are ahead of the pack right now.
I can see that.
I think, like, I'm in the same boat. I would say Direwolves 3-1 because I give Chiefs that, but
Because it's a cop-out answer.
Well, you give him a Z game, or you give him a... You know what I mean?
Like you give
him one of those.
You give Tommy up, like he gets a solo kill, and then the game is like a struggle. But yeah, because like Chiefs have to force like everything. Like I said consistency, and everything like you guys have said is true. Like Babip has to make the gank work,
Yeah.
and if he doesn't, then it's a disaster. Legacy versus Chiefs. Literally, they picked. I think it was Varus Leona, and then Eid onto like decoy Rakan, and he Eid back underneath the turret.
Yeah.
And from that point, their bot lane lost, and it's like, okay, that didn't work. Now the game is very hard.
They triple ban support.
Yeah,
Counter picked Leona and still lost lane.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign when you're about to play against Cupcake and King.
And also, I mean, like without going into like the semantics of it, also shows a fundamental, like, inappropriate way to play the lane. Right? Is like Leona beats Rakan for the exact reason that he just put himself under the turret with. Like,
You can't engage.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Like,
The other thing I will say about Leo as well is like I think he does need to make the difference, but I also don't think he's going to get a good matchup. I think the Chiefs, because of the lanes, because of the way the lanes will go, I think Chiefs will have to draft good matchups for their laners, which means that inevitably Jungle will get sacked. I'm afraid that he'll end up on tank duty and Shen will get a counter pick. And that's just going to make his job even harder because, like you said, he needs to make these ganks stick. He needs to create pressure. But if he's playing Sejuani versus Trundle or like some other horseshit matchup, like that's going to be really hard for him.
E-flash counter game.
Gragas, if he's playing, or if he's playing Gragas versus Olaf or like anything like that, Olaf versus Lee Sin or like, I think in my mind I see that happening, and that's gonna. It's like they need to sack their lanes to get a good jungle matchup because Babip needs to be the difference, but also he can't be the difference if his lanes are losing. And so it's a really tough catch-22 with their draft.
The thing is like I still think Chiefs are the second best team in the league, so I'm not taking anything away from the
fucking
Chiefs Esports Club, right? But the problem that I see with it is that Direwolves and Chiefs have kind of the similar thing where they want to get to their mid-game portion of the game and then they want to execute on their strategy, and they're like, in my head, like top lane is pretty much the exact same. Mid lane, they're similar kinds of players. Like Triple has the ability to whip out an assassin as well and pop off. And I think bottom lane is kind of different. But I think like that's why Chiefs would be Order, but I would say Order or even Legacy has a better chance of beating the Direwolves because I think they match up in different ways because Mimic was a strength of Legacy, so you would at least coin flip Mimic carrying a game over Biopanther, and that's how we used to play against them as well. It's like, okay, they want to do this, let's do the opposite.
Pick GP every game.
So like I think that Chiefs just are too similar to Direwolves and not as good at what Direwolves do in my head.
Their strengths are in the same places, but they're also just more volatile.
Like you give the edge to Direwolves. So
it's just the fact that like Tommy will die in the side lane against like Bombers or Tectonic, like that's a problem. Like if that happens tomorrow, like that game is just over. Whereas Direwolves, it's like they drop a lot of individual games, but their wins don't look close. Like their wins, they never look like. They
rarely look like they're going to drop the win.
Yeah, exactly. They never look like it's like a close. Like the losses are close and their wins are not. Which is a good thing.
Absolutely. They play more good minutes of League of Legends than bad minutes of League of Legends. One of my team's biggest issues was our variance was real high in good and bad minutes.
To play devil's advocate a little bit, like Direwolves certainly do have a lot of holes that have been shown. Like I think like saying Tommy dies in the side lane a lot, like Biopanther does exactly the same thing. Shernfire, I feel like this split more than any other has had very good performances and then just really eats shit one game, stuff like that. Their Baron plays not towards like week 9, 10, week like 6, 7, 8 was super sketch. So it's not like, I certainly still do give them the edge, but it's not like a foregone conclusion by any respect.
They're not a perfect team by any means. You know, the winner of this tournament is still going to go to wild cards and have a really tough time. So let's not, I don't think anyone here is pretending that these guys have no flaws. But just
I just wanted to point them out.
But just in this matchup, like,
I think the other thing that
I don't know. I really hope. I really hope that they draft Leo a good matchup, at least in one of the games. Just realize in one of the games that like this guy has to be the point of difference, and please give him a good matchup because
all the Destiny.
I believe he can do it.
I agree with that. I think that when you talk about it, you're talking about like the two support roles, like jungle as well as the traditional support. I think that the other thing that has the potential to go right is if Destiny just matches Cupcake real well. I think that people undervalue what Cupcake does for Shermfire.
Yeah,
And
okay.
Every jungler wants to play with Cupcake, I think, after seeing the treatment that Shermfire gets from Cupcake. And if Destiny just is like, you know what, 80 carries can 1v1, and I'll have a presence on the map as well, there is a chance that they do better than what I think in my head.
Yeah, but then even then, Destiny is like a impact player, which is like a strength, but can also be
Big
a
weakness.
detriment
Yeah.
in the sense that like
You flash
Cupcake is out there
someone
supporting Shermfire, and like if Shern wants to commit to a skirmish, Cupcake will commit to a skirmish. But I feel like the chief dynamic from the outside looks like,
Destiny
in my
calls it.
mind, it's just like Destiny would be like, no, we do this, and like Leo undoubtedly will know the jungle matchup better. I might get dragged into something he doesn't want to do. That's how I see the difference. Like Shern is like dictating. Like the jungle, it's like this is my invade, and I'm going in or I'm going out, and you're following me. Whereas like I could see Destiny being like, kill, or like we can kill him.
As like surface level analysis, like Direwolves give all their priority to Shern, whereas like Babip has to give it to his lanes to carry.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like very differing styles that could clash. Yeah.
It reminds me of when I played Shern last year in the split one final last year. We got boomed like every game except one. That was the only game that I had a winning matchup in, because after the first two games where I was sacking myself for the team, because like their lanes are so good, they had like Fantix, King, Chippies, and it was like we had to draft like good lanes for the matchups for the lanes, and I was getting and my pick was getting sacked, but I was like, no, it's fine, it's jungle, like I can make it work, and I wasn't making it work because he was just carrying. So game 3 I was like, I need a counter pick, like I need it, otherwise we're just gonna fucking lose again. And I played Graves versus Lee Sin, and we first blooded him. We ended up winning that game. Then the very next game, he got the matchup again, because we were like, okay, we've won a game. We're on the other side now, but like we still have this problem with our lanes. And I see the same thing happening to Leo tomorrow. I like it's a really tough thing to do, to be like, you know what, Tommy, you're gonna have to blind pick against triple, and I know that's fucking hard, and I know triple might carry, but like you got to put some trust in the jungler, because of all the players in the league, Shern is the one who's going to make. He's going to show you that gap. Like other players, if there's a skill gap between two players, you won't see it as much, or like it won't be as obvious because one player will not push it that hard. Like he's better. He has that 15 CS, 20 CS lead. Maybe has a better item path, but he's not like a 20-15 Swiffer roaming to like the side lanes and killing everyone. You know what I mean? Like that's a gap. You see that gap.
Yep.
But like Shern is one of the few players in this league who still will show you that gap if you let him. So I think that's for me the key matchup.
All right, well, we've run out of time here, so time to wrap up the show. I want to thank all three of you for taking time aside here to come visit and
thanks,
give
mate.
your thoughts.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fun.
Appreciate it.
And also thanks to Zen Gaming Lounge for putting this up for us. And we gave them pretty late notice due to a venue change. And so remember to catch the OPL final tomorrow, where you can hear all three of these guys give their thoughts on how the game's going to go.
I'll be in the crowd.
You'll be in the crowd.
Say hi if you see me.
We'll mic you up.
Might get an interview with Nick Boy in there.
Yeah, Nick Boy.
Nick Boy. So for more content on the grand final, make sure to check out snowballesports.com.
Thank you.
Cool.